Carolina is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to reassure Americans that it is not true that no problem ever gets fixed in Washington. 10 years ago, the debate here in Congress was what to do with the surplus. In fact, we paid off $400 billion of the debt, and Alan Greenspan, who was then the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, worried that we were going to pay off the national debt too quickly and it might be unsettling to the economy. Mr. Chairman, if there is one problem that got solved in the last decade, it is that problem, the problem of paying off the national debt too quickly. And my party can claim none of the credit for that. It was a Republican president, it was a Republican Congress. And I must admit, I don't like what they did to solve that problem of paying off the national debt too quickly. They gave tax cuts to Americans, the top 0.1%, Americans making more than $2 million, $340,000. And we saw just a couple of months ago that that was one thing that was absolutely non-negotiable for them. They would give up everything before they would let those Americans have to pay any more in taxes. When there was a proposal to expand the Medicare to take care of prescription drugs, something that I supported generally, Republicans in Congress passed a bill that was not paid for, as other programs like that had been paid for, and was a giveaway to the insurance industry and to the prescription drug industry. So when they're giving tax cuts to the very, very richest Americans, the richest of the rich, when they're giving away taxpayer money to the insurance industry and to the prescription drug industry, the drug industry, they don't worry about deficits at all. It's only when Democrats take the presidency, and particularly in the last 2 years, when we have been dealing with the worst recession since the Great Depression and been trying to pull the country out of a nosedive, that they have suddenly become worried about the deficits, and criticize Americans, everything that we have done to try to save the country from the disaster that we inherited. And it is only the programs that help working and middle-class families that seem to give them a problem like this one. Now, we have been on the case of subprime lending and its effects for a long time. I introduced legislation in 2004 to rein in subprime lending. Not a bit of help from Republicans. Mr. Watt and I introduced that bill. It was Miller-Watt. 2 years later, it became Miller-Watt-Frank. We have been on this case. In 2007, I introduced a bill to the gentleman from Alabama said in committee the other day, show me a way to deal with this problem that doesn't cost taxpayer money. I did that in 2007. I introduced a bill that bankruptcy lawyers and judges had said was one way to deal with the problem, is that let bankruptcy judges modify mortgages in bankruptcy the same way they modify all other kinds of secured debt. No support from Republicans at all, and the opposition Republicans killed that. I have introduced, or I've urged the federal agencies that set rules for the banks to require they treat people better than they've been treating them when they manage their mortgages. No help from Republicans at all. And even in just yesterday, the federal agencies in charge of the bank's conduct and the state's attorney generals have been pushing the banks to impose fines for violating the law in how they handle foreclosures. And several Republicans sent a letter yesterday to the Secretary of the Treasury protesting that federal agencies were being too mean to the banks. Now, I thought most politicians learned during the Keating Five that your office does not give you the right to give your political buddies, your contributors, a get-out-of-jail-free card. But that appears to be what they're willing to do when it's the banking industry that is complaining about it. It is not true that this problem of foreclosure is just affecting a handful of Americans. Can I have another minute?
1 minute. Nice for one additional minute.
We are in a cycle of foreclosures leading to reduced value of homes, reduced values of home, more Americans underwater, and when people are underwater, they've seen their life savings disappear. More Americans underwater, more foreclosures, and on and on. We have got to put a bottom on the housing market. We know this can work. This program is very similar to a program in the New Deal that did work. The Homeowners Loan Corporation turned a slight profit, but a profit, and saved the middle class, saved the housing industry. We need to do something. Republicans have offered nothing. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.